Okay, I would like to look at this question which says that globalization has seen more people working abroad for short periods of time. What are some advantages and disadvantages of working abroad? And first of all, what we want to do is to highlight the keywords, advantages and disadvantages and working abroad. Okay, so once you've highlighted them, you know that straight away it requires a balanced approach because they ask for advantages as well as disadvantages. So you need to have at least 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. And my suggested structure is you start off with an introduction followed by 2 advantages, then you have this transition followed by 2 disadvantages before you conclude your essay. Let's move on to some common problematic areas that I see in some of the scripts. Okay, the first one is that some of you treated it as an argumentative essay where you explained 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage, or vice versa. So obviously that's not the approach you should take, because this is a balanced approach. So if you look at the rubrics for content, what is the maximum mark they will score if they do this? It can't be the top band because it says all aspects of the task are fully addressed. It can't be band 4 where it says all aspects of the task are addressed. It has to be band 3 where only some aspects of the task are addressed, right? Okay, now the second problem area is that some wrote about the advantages and disadvantages of globalization. So what they did was they explained the advantage to a country. For example, the country will have some economic benefits or some social impact. Okay, so that is obviously off topic because the question is about people working abroad. So you need to take the perspective of a person who is working in another foreign country and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of that. So if you look at the rubrics again, what do you think is the maximum mark they will score? It can't even be band 3. Might even be band 1, some attempts to address the task, right? Because you're not talking about the person, but you're talking about a country, so only some attempts to address the task. Now we are turning our attention to the language, and what I've done is I've cropped a section of the band descriptors for language for bands 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so we're going to look at 2 scripts from 2 different people and we're going to examine their language. Okay, so this is the first script. He starts the paragraph with, on the contrary, working abroad has major disadvantages that could be detrimental to one's physical and mental health, while also causing issues in areas like communication. So I would expect the first disadvantage to be having some kind of detrimental effect on one's physical and mental health, right? Disadvantage number 1. And of course, disadvantage number 2 is going to be communication. Okay, so does he do that? Let's examine what he says. When working abroad, there may be certain language barriers, as some countries may have different first languages. So what he has done is that he has elaborated on disadvantage number 2. An example could be an Indian foreigner going overseas to work at a country like Germany, in a country, right? India's first language is very different from Germany's first language, which could cause problems in communication between one another. Moreover, working abroad would mean that there is a huge change in environment which would ultimately cause multiple health problems. Okay, so this one is disadvantage number 1. And then he goes on to say, firstly, the change in environment could cause problems like homesickness, which would lead to mental health problems like depression and anxiety due to the lack of family members abroad. The change in environment could also cause health problems, okay, as one may not be able to adapt to the physical conditions of that country. Okay, so this is the elaboration of disadvantage number 1. Right. So if you look at the rubrics, I have some issues with the organization because the top band will require you to have a coherent and cohesive presentation of ideas. Second band is coherent presentation of ideas with some cohesion between paragraphs. And the last band is that most ideas coherently presented. And in this case, our friend needs to have 2 separate paragraphs while developing each topic sentence clearly. So I would think that it is a band 3. Okay, where most ideas are coherently presented. Because he does have a structure, as you can see, but it is in the same paragraph. So that is confusing, isn't it? I would have separated both of them. Okay, then let's turn our attention to the next script. So he says that firstly, people may want to go overseas for the many economic benefits. Right, clear topic sentence. People who want to work overseas often lean towards better and more stable income. They head to countries where their employment is guaranteed with a high pay. Okay, so if I were to look at his connectors, I will see that his connectors are very varied. Yes, can you all see that? Compared to the previous script, what connectors did our friend use? Okay, you look at what I've boxed up. Okay, can you see that there are repeated connectors? Okay, so to get a higher mark, I would strive to use more varied sentence structures, because if you look at the top band, they say effective use of ambitious vocabulary and grammar structures, as well as using them accurately. Okay, so if you keep repeating the sentence structures, you can only score around here, right? Sufficiently varied. Okay, so that concludes my analysis of this question.